Now, a very important thing here to discuss is about the physiological actions of insulin, a question that is very frequently asked in examination, a very important part also. So, insulin, it is referred as the hormone of abundance. Directly, it can be asked in the exams, enumerate the physiological actions of the hormone of abundance. So, in that case, you'll have to describe the actions of insulin. Don't get confused with this term. Hormone of abundance, it is called as insulin. So, the physiological actions, they lie within this term only. Why it is termed as hormone of abundance? Because it increases the storage of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. That's why it is referred as hormone of abundance. Now, what is the action of insulin on carbohydrate metabolism? We all know that insulin is hypoglycemic. It decreases the blood glucose levels. Now, inside the skeletal muscle and in the adipose tissue, this action is brought about by glucose transporter, mainly GLUT4. It's a very important thing to memorize here is which glucose transporter is involved in the metabolism of carbohydrates in skeletal muscle and in the adipose tissue. So, your answer is GLUT4. Now, that is how GLUT4, it acts as a transporter of glucose. Glucose molecules via this transporter enters inside the cell, and GLUT4 containing vesicle, it brings the glucose molecules inside via the process of endocytosis to exert these effects over the protein metabolism, over the growth and over the lipid metabolism. Okay, you can see the GLUT4 and the GLUT4 containing vesicle, okay, that are translocated to the cell membrane to bring the glucose inside. Now, we had discussed the transport of glucose inside the skeletal muscle and adipose tissue via GLUT4. Now comes the liver. How in liver insulin exerts its action. So, glucose enters into the hepatic cells and it is acted upon by the enzyme called as glucokinase. Now, glucokinase converts glucose into glucose 6-phosphate. Now, this glucose 6-phosphate, it is converted to glycogen with the help of another very important enzyme, glycogen synthase. Okay. And glycogen, it can be converted to its breakdown products with the help of phosphorylase enzyme. Now, what is our aim here? Our aim is to convert glucose into glycogen and to stop the breakdown of glycogen further. So, how can this target be achieved? It can be done with the help of insulin. How? Insulin stimulates the glucokinase enzyme, stimulates the glycogen synthase, but it inhibits the phosphorylase enzyme. Stimulation of glucokinase and glycogen synthase means fastening the conversion of glucose to glycogen, but simultaneously inhibiting phosphorylase. What does it mean? It means we are not allowing the breakdown of glycogen. Glucose will be stored as glycogen or converted into glycogen inside the liver. Now, we had discussed in detail about the action of insulin over carbohydrates, over the skeletal muscle, adipose tissue and over the liver cells also. Now comes the action of insulin on the metabolism of lipid. Again, a very important topic that has to be discussed in detail and memorized. Now, glucose, we already know, enters the adipose cells via GLUT4. We had talked about it previously. Now it is converted to alpha phosphoglycerate, and alpha phosphoglycerate, it is converted to triglyceride. So, you have to memorize this flow chart. Alpha phosphoglycerate, which is finally converted to triglycerides. Okay. Now, a very important flow chart to memorize and understand as well. So, what happens in the adipose tissues? What happens? We had discussed in the previous slide that there is conversion of alpha phosphoglycerate into triglycerides. Now, these two triglycerides, these are acted upon by hormone sensitive lipase. Now, this hormone sensitive lipase, it converts the triglycerides into glycerol and fatty acids. Okay, that is happening normally. But what happens in the absence of insulin? That is in case of diabetes mellitus. What is the scenario? The hormone sensitive lipase, which is normally inhibited by insulin or kept in control by insulin, that inhibitory control is gone in case of diabetes mellitus. So what happens? It remains uninhibited. That means it will exert its action, and what will happen? Ultimately, there is rise in the level of free fatty acids in the plasma. That's why we always say that diabetes mellitus, it is not a disease of carbohydrate metabolism, it is a disease of fat metabolism. We'll discuss it in detail in the next slide as well. Okay. So free fatty acid, it is a better indicator of the severity of disease. Why? Because of the action of this particular hormone. It remains uninhibited in case of diabetes mellitus, and there is increase in the level of plasma free fatty acids. Now, lipoprotein lipase enzyme. Okay, it is present over the endothelium of capillaries, and here the triglycerides that are in the chylomicrons and VLDL. Okay, with the help of lipoprotein lipase, these are converted to free fatty acid and glycerol. Okay, this particular enzyme, it is also inhibited by insulin. It's kept in check by insulin. Okay. So free fatty acid, normally it is converted to acetyl coenzyme A. Normally it enters into the TCA cycle, okay, or the Krebs cycle, to be finally converted to carbon dioxide and water. But in case of deficiency of insulin, what is going to happen? Excess of acetyl coenzyme A, it is converted to acetoacetyl coenzyme A, and inside the liver there is formation of acetoacetate, or we can say there is excessive production of ketone bonds. If the condition is untreated, it can result in ketosis. So second point that explains this sentence, why diabetes mellitus, it is a disease of fat metabolism and not glucose metabolism. We'll have to mention these 2 points here, lipoprotein lipase and hormone sensitive lipase. They have to be explained in detail. Now, the action on the metabolism of proteins. Insulin, basically it is an anabolic hormone. It has protein anabolic effect. Simultaneously, you can see it is having positive nitrogen balance effect. Now about the effect on plasma glucose. It causes hypokalemia. That means insulin, it lowers the levels of potassium. Okay. Over the growth, as it is protein anabolic and proteins have a significant effect over the growth of body, it is referred to as growth anabolic hormone. Okay. In case of diabetic children, we can see growth failure also. So that was all about insulin. We had discussed in detail about the synthesis, secretion, physiological actions, factors affecting the secretion of insulin. Okay, thank you.